For 80 years, this white one-room schoolhouse has served as a landmark for visitors to Veterans Park in Mecosta County, which is affectionately known as School Section Lake Park. The building is now over 100 years old and predates the existence of the park site. Built in 1905, it replaced the original log structure that served the community for 20 years. The first log school was erected in 1881 in the village of Mecosta. The state of Michigan established a tax-based provision for free education for children between the ages of 7 and 16. Every 16th section of a township was reserved for a public school. The Michigan Department of Education designated that a minimum of 10 families located within a 4-square-mile area qualified them for a school. As more farming families came to the area, another school building was needed. And in 1883, the men of the community volunteered their labor to build a second log building similar to this one that became known as the Little River School. Isaac Berry and his wife Lucy Millard Berry were among the early settlers of the area. Isaac was an escaped mulatto slave who was basically illiterate, yet he valued education for future generations. He had acquired the 83 acres of cut-over white pine land, which is the present Veterans Park. When the 10th family arrived in the area, Isaac called a meeting and offered 2 acres to be used for this new school site. The Berrys were members of the first school board, and Lucy, who was the daughter of a Mormon minister, became their first school teacher. After a generation, the area population had grown, and the original log school had become inadequate. It was replaced in 1905 with a new 20 by 40 foot wooden structure that continued to be used for the next 30 years. The Little River Schoolhouse was more than a center for learning. It was a cornerstone in the community. It was a meeting hall and a church. It was also a source for local news, and the school's bell was the medium of communication. Isaac Berry served as the sexton and would ring the bell for church. He also had special calls to announce births, illnesses, or deaths, fires, and of course to call children to school each morning. Because this was an agricultural community, the school year and vacation periods were based on planting and harvesting seasons. Spring vacation came at planting time. Summer vacation extended to harvest, with the school year resuming in the fall and continuing through the winter months. One of the highlights of the winter was the annual Christmas program, which was a major community event.
I remember that the first time I ever saw Santa Claus, the Christmas before I was 4 years old. The main decorations of the trees at that time were candles. People brought gifts for other people, and they were placed on the Christmas tree. And they were given out by the Santa Claus. And he leaned over to get one item, and his beard got too close to the candle. And he had to leave the place, and he took off his mask while he was leaving the place. And when he come back in, he didn't have any whiskers. And he sure didn't look like Santa Claus to me.
In 1935, the Little River School was merged with the Mecosta Village school system. The schoolhouse was closed, and its surrounding 2 acres were sold to the county as part of the present park site. Over the years, the school building changed ownership. At one time, it was a residence, then abandoned, falling to neglect in later years. In 1975, the first stage of restoration was begun to save the structure, and it was designated as a Michigan Historical Site. Much of the initial work was the result of volunteers, with contributions from former students and descendants.
Prior to our restoration of the schoolhouse, it had fallen into disrepair. It had been in a county park, so it was essentially in one piece, and there was a roof on it, but it needed to be repaired, and the outside needed to be painted, and the inside, the floors needed to be sanded. It needed to be literally restored to the original way it was. In August of 1975, the restoration was complete, and we opened the schoolhouse that day for the first time, and we invited the old settler community to come and see it, and pictures were taken, and Claire Lambert, the old teacher from there, he came back with a wonderful painting of the old days in the schoolhouse, and he led a class. And Wilda Curvin, who also had been a teacher in that schoolhouse, she participated in that too. And the old settlers sat in their benches and they were taught by their two original teachers. And it was a very exciting day.
It became known as the Little River School because the surrounding area resembled a stream in Canada that the Barrys lived near. Of course, it was an integrated school because it was the only school there. It offered kindergarten through 8th grade. And I learned a lot from listening to kids in the upper grade recite. A lot of times we took it on ourselves to learn the passages purposely for recitation. My reward was the satisfaction in getting this done and being pleased with it and having the teacher pleased with it. See, they had a system before this time, before my time, when the student was graded by books. Reading, writing, arithmetic, history, geography. I always had to have a lesson thoroughly learned. I got good marks in school.
We opened the schoolhouse officially in 1976, with the actual year of the bicentennial. We had the previous year given the old settlers sort of a preview of it in August, but then in 76 in May, we opened it from May until Labor Day, and we scheduled activities throughout every weekend. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we had a program called Art in the Park. We had sing-alongs on the holidays, on Memorial Day, on July 4th, and on Labor Day. We had people who came to play the piano. There was a piano in there, and the local piano tuner in Big Rapids actually donated that piano. There have been classes held in there with students coming from the local schools and dressing in period costume, and their teachers trying to teach the way they might have taught years ago. This is a unique schoolhouse because it is on the spot that it actually existed, and it's over now a century old. Great experience for young people to put them through that kind of thing. It's a wonderful opportunity for a living historic museum that they can go back to their classes and they can actually really learn about more.
This 83-acre recreation site, affectionately known as School Section Lake Park, has served Mecosta County for a century. At first it was known as Pleasant View and became known as School Section Lake Park when it was sold to the county for a record $8,000. While a member of the County Board of Supervisors declared this to be an extraordinary waste of taxpayers' money, it was not as extraordinary as the story behind the man who made the property available for the public to enjoy for generations to come. Isaac Berry was born a mulatto slave in Garrard County, Kentucky in 1832. At age 26, he met Lucy Esther Millard, who was born in Wayne County, New York in 1838. She was the daughter of a Mormon minister, Solomon Nelson Millard, who had migrated to Plymouth, Michigan when Lucy was just a young girl. Following the death of her mother, Lucy came with her father to Palmyra, Missouri, where she met Isaac.
There she met my great-grandfather, Isaac Berry, who of course was owned by his half-sister, Julianne Pratt. And so they farmed him out to, well, he was called a sod buster. But he was a talented man. He could do many different things. Played the violin, and he was a blacksmith, and he had many trades that he was good at. The only thing is he couldn't read or write. But she taught him to read and write by using the Bible, because they were very Bible-oriented people, and of course the Mormons didn't believe in slavery. So in bringing water to him out in the fields, as he was busting the prairie, plowing it up, they got acquainted and they fell in love.
Lucy was a maverick, not afraid to defy convention and authority, especially when it was unjust.
She was quite a character. She certainly had a mind of her own, because that would indicate the determination that made her make up her mind to marry him.
Julianne Pratt was told by her father that he was never to be sold, nor was he ever to be beaten, as was happening to slaves back then. But her husband, Jim Pratt, was a Mississippi River gambler. And so evidently he was not a very good gambler, because he was gambling away her fortune. And part of the fortune was Isaac Berry. And so she was afraid that he would be sold down to Louisiana, where they worked in the cane fields. And the life expectancy in those conditions was 7 to 9 years. So it was a death sentence.
With the help of Isaac's owner, Julianne Pratt, they worked out an escape plan to get Isaac to Windsor, Ontario. After 3 weeks, Isaac made the trip on foot, narrowly escaping capture on at least 3 occasions.
He went in the Underground Railroad, she followed by railroad to Detroit. There she worked in a shirt factory, and then got people to row her across to Canada, because she knew he was there somewhere. So that one summer of 1858, she searched for him and finally found him, or heard his violin playing in a tavern, and there's where they met.
Isaac and Lucy were married in Windsor, Ontario in August 1859 and lived near the village of Puce, outside of Windsor, for 18 years. In May 1877, the Berrys came to Mecosta by covered wagon along with their 6 children. They purchased 83 acres of cut-over pine land at the present Veterans Park site for $1.25 an acre.
My mother and father got married in 1919. They didn't have any place to live, and my great-grandmother was living at the time, and she was trying to live alone in the log establishment that was on the property. And it was thought that it would be a benefit for my parents to live there. She was an old lady then.
We'd go down to the Berrys and in School Section Lake and buy the ice, because they put up ice in the wintertime, and then the summer you could buy the big things of ice, and we'd take it home and chop it up and make the ice cream with it. And that's one of the times I went and I saw Mrs. Berry. We went in the house. My grandmother knew her, and we went in the house, and I could remember stepping over a log sill where the door was. And I went in, and she was sitting in a rocking chair, and she had a shawl over. Very polite, just a real nice lady, and I always will remember that.
And while basically illiterate, Isaac possessed an enterprising nature. He organized the area's first postal service, was a beekeeper, and blacksmith. He also saw the value of his land as a vacation site, and with Lucy assisting him, he cleared the land, built picnic tables, and hauled sand to the lake's banks to create the county's first beach, complete with bathhouses and rentals for boats and fishing gear.
Isaac had built 2 wooden fences separately. And that's where you went in to change your clothes into your bathing suit. The pavilion that's out there was not built by Isaac Berry, but he did build all the rest of the park for the people in the area.
This popular vacation site known as Pleasant View attracted tourists from near and far to swim, fish, and enjoy the area's natural beauty. Isaac Berry passed away in 1914, and Lucy followed in 1928. When the site was sold to Mecosta County in 1929, a member of the County Board of Supervisors declared that the spending of $8,000 for a sandlot was an extraordinary waste of the taxpayers' money. Fortunately, the majority of the board recognized the long-term value of this purchase and shared the vision of Isaac Berry, who always had his eye on the future.
From what I understand, he always enjoyed people, like to have people around, even though he kind of sat off to the side and just kind of watched. He always enjoyed having people enjoy his land, and from what I understand, he had a deep love for the land over there. So he was very, in a way, he just wanted to perpetuate that. And through the park system, through the county, I think that happened for him. I hope it did anyway.
And because of this long-term vision, the beauty and splendor of this popular vacation site continues to be enjoyed nearly a century later, making School Section Lake Park the crown jewel of Mecosta County.
Mecosta Village is a testimonial to the concept of ethnic diversity living in harmony. Its success has been the result of a mutual respect for others, combined with the sharing of resources for peaceful purposes, community prosperity, and personal well-being. In these ways, the original settlers of Mecosta had a common understanding of purpose. And because of this, they built an integrated community on the foundation of equality for all, nearly a century before the Civil Rights Movement. This community defined a true concept of the American melting pot at a time when the rest of the nation was struggling with the issues of ethnic and racial segregation.
I never knew what racism was, or is, until I left the area and went to Lansing.
Actually, I was probably 15 or 16 before I even realized that we had different colors of skin, because the African Americans that settled here years and years ago had a lot of Indian, I believe, and a lot of white intermixed, and they were our neighbor and our friend. I could never think that there would be any discrimination whatsoever in the world, because we were born and raised together. We were family together.
Many people were coming into this community. They were the immigrants from Germany and Poland and Ireland.
As I got older and moved away to college, and there was some problems with discrimination in college, I would sit back and go, why? We have the greatest people in our community and all their diversity. We're all friends, we're all neighbors, we all look out for each other. I never could understand, the discrimination issue.
So people ask us, well, what are you? And we just say we're a nation within itself.
So what brought these people of varying races and backgrounds to the Mecosta area? And what was their secret to a peaceful coexistence? The Swamp Act of 1850 provided revenue for the federal government by selling land to state governments. Michigan followed this example and sold nearly 7 million acres of white pine timberland from 75 cents to $1.50 an acre. Because of the low price, logging barons bought up the largest portion, giving birth to Michigan's lumber industry. Various lumber camps sprang up, drawing large numbers of men seeking work. Within a short time, the camps needed a shipping point and commercial base for receiving supplies. This led to the founding of the Mecosta Trading Post in 1858. The post was named after Chief Mecosta of Newaygo County, whose name translates as Little Bear. The Mecosta Trading Post became a thriving business center, and in 1879 the village of Mecosta was established, with the railroad extended there the following year. The lumber camps continued to attract wild, robust newcomers well into the 1880s.
When the lumbermen came into town, there were wooden sidewalks in front of all the stores. And they'd come in with the cleated boots and start dancing on those sidewalks until they'd dance right through them. Just tear them right up.
Once the land was scalped, its value was greatly depreciated. What was left was cheap, cut-over pine land to be cleared for farming. The Mecosta region was never inhabited by Native Americans, as many have believed. While members of the Chippewa, Potawatomi, and Ottawa tribes all stopped here during fishing and hunting seasons, they never took up permanent residence. During Michigan's formative years, settlers of many different backgrounds migrated to Mecosta, not for the sake of romantic adventure, but to seek their dreams as defined by the American ideal of freedom. They came from the neighboring counties of Montcalm and Isabella. Some came north in covered wagons from Ohio and Virginia, while others came from Ontario, Canada, or Western Europe, all attracted by Michigan's cheap land. And in the process, these people shared the resources and skills that were necessary to survive.
And they realized that people are just people. Like the old saying is, a rose is a rose, a rose no matter what color it is. So it's survival, and the fact that it was a people that had respect, they cared about others, and what one had that was lacking in, the other one could make up for in whatever areas he would like to talk about. So they made it work.
The second and third generations maintained the values of their parents. Just as the original pioneers weathered the hardships of settling the land, their children and grandchildren faced the challenges of the Great Depression with the same resourcefulness and determination to survive.
That was the big thing. Every Saturday night they had the free show. It was a thing that all the merchants donated to get the films. They built a screen in between telephone poles. And the guy that ran the films was a local man. He didn't get paid for doing that. The ladies' circle sold hot dogs, popcorn, stuff like that. And all the stores stayed open until after the shows were over. Everybody was helping everybody else, you know. That's the way it was.
But the outbreak of World War II brought about jolting change. Many of the community's youth were called away to serve. Exposure to the outside world and post-war industrial expansion drew the fourth generation away from the community. The lure of greater opportunities in the cities, combined with memories of Depression hardships, contributed to the demise of small-town life throughout Michigan and the nation as well. Oddly, this new migration pulled many descendants away for the same reasons that attracted their grandparents to Mecosta 60 years earlier. But the legacy of the Mecosta pioneers is kept alive through the Old Settlers Reunion, which has been held at School Section Lake Park every third Saturday in August since 1934.
I attended the first one in 1934. It was a thing that was open to everybody. And it's not certain groups or certain families, but it's all supposed to be descendants of early settlers.
My folks went to it.
You meet the folks from Chicago and Lansing and Grand Rapids and Big Rapids and Mecosta and Remus and made some really good friends.
The story here of a small village in the Midwest is the story of many such villages, and it's part of the American history. This is what made our nation strong. I think I kind of came into this family late, because only in '64, but because the family was there from '78 when they first came for the logging and platting the village, that I've heard these tales. And the old settler community and all the other immigrants in the area were very much a part of it. And so I thought they were ahead by over 100 years.
The Old Settlers Reunion, of course, has always been a part of our past and of the present. And I'm so thankful that the community still comes back here and celebrates the Old Settlers Reunion.
Absolutely, this is a story whose time has come, because it's a time when people need to hear about people getting along. We have had too much division in the world, and particularly even in America. And I think that this tells about a group of people, not just the old settlers who are peacefully integrated into the community, but we keep talking about diversity today. And we had diversity before it was a PC. It was just normal to have the great different races going together, and it was normal for them to be peaceful. And now we have to kind of dwell on that type of thing. So something was lost over those years, and I'm not exactly sure how that happened, but I think it's time that we set an example here of how things could be, how they were, and that we sort of encourage others to tell their story too.
I like the area, and I know how to live here.
Just taking care of community, being there for people.
A neighbor's a neighbor.
Pure love.
That's what's important, to get to know each other as persons rather than as members of some group.
And I think that's the root cause of us being different, a nation within itself.
Well, I don't know of a better place to live, really.